Hello, Marilu.
Hi.
So thankful that you are joining me on this conversation of mindful leaders and for welcoming us to Tumo Center in Yerevan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
You are an engineer and an education specialist, and you have been the executive director of Tumo since its inception. And a few days ago, you've actually marked Tumo's 10-year anniversary by inaugurating the building in Gyumri and by making an important announcement of a $50 million initiative to expand Tumo over the coming few years. Today, we are also marking Armenia's 30th anniversary of independence. And here's a nation that's been hit hard primarily from the Artsakh War in 2020, less than a year ago. Many Armenians are experiencing and still continue to experience physical and emotional trauma. And many people that I know have expressed that they've lost hope for the future. Yet you, with Tumo, continue to create, to build, to invest. What are your motivations and your sources of energy? And what is your vision for the future?
As you know, I was raised in Lebanon and I have seen war. And I have learned from the Lebanese people to be very resilient, to always think about the future because whatever is happening is hopefully temporary, and not to give up hopes. And it's very important to think ahead. You should not lose time. And when you think ahead and when you think about the future that you want, and you do things while you're going through the pain, I have learned that it eases your pain and it makes it more tolerable and it gives you a new meaning in life. All of us have lost a lot of things in our lives. And I think just sitting and crying will not change anything. I believe that if you do something strong, well, something positive, and you have a positive outlook to the future, you feel that pain has less weight on you than it used to be. So that's my secret, I guess. And believe it or not, I feel that we have made mistakes, probably, we were not ready, but it's never too late to now do what we're supposed to do and very fast.
In our own ways.
Yes.
Collective trauma, now that you talk about the war in Lebanon as well, and what happened here in Armenia and in Artsakh, collective trauma is a very wise wound. When a large group of people undergoes or experiences a traumatic event like war, like genocide, the survivors and the descendants undergo an overwhelming hyper-stress reaction. So as humans, we learn that to survive, we have to numb our pain, we have to disconnect with our feelings, and maybe we don't have the safe space to digest the pains, but this actually psychologically hardens the wounds. You interact on a daily basis with children and with youth. And for many years, you've had a very serious interest in education, even during your years in Barcelona, in Los Angeles, and also in Armenia. So my question is, what are your thoughts about incorporating the understanding of trauma in the school systems, in the education systems? And how could we help youth to better understand their pain so they can perhaps better understand and express their full potential?
Maybe we should do it indirectly, not directly. For example, if you organize projects, let's say 3D scanning of your churches and monuments in Artsakh or Armenia, or even in endangered locations, or even going to, I don't know, the cemetery in Egypt and scanning all the everything. Through that kind of projects, indirectly, you're talking about the pain, and kids will start asking questions. They will not just scan things. They will discover themselves. So my way of doing these things is helping them, holding their hand, and involving them in project where naturally they will ask the questions and they will find out, they will think, and you guide them through that experience. And as I said, indirectly, you will be able to talk about those things and not putting them and saying, okay, we have had this war, let's talk about it. If you do it indirectly, I think it will be a much better strategy, because directly some people are not ready for that. So you have to take little steps, and once they're in, you can start talking about it. And of course, you can be careful about who can or who cannot. And collectively, you can do that. In a project, it's not one person, it's a lot of people, and you can approach those things in a better way. So I believe in those things, and I have done it in my life, indirectly getting involved. And once you are in, you realize that there is much more into that. It's not just history, it's not just being responsible, it's what you have to do for the future now that you're in that position. Let's say you're in a position of scanning these monuments, and then what? What do you do with them? And how responsible are you? What are you supposed to do? Not only protecting those monuments, but continuing the culture, the Armenian culture. What does it mean? Why were we in all these countries in the diaspora? Why these diasporas disappeared? Who is in charge of all this? Why did we end up in those places? And of course, not everyone will do the same thing, but some will do in some areas and other will do other areas. And I believe that involving them in those kind of projects is what you're saying, talking about those things.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. You talk about history, and I think about your family history. Your grandfather, your mother's father, Diran Kalfayan, from Izmir, was 11 years old when his two brothers were taken away by the Turks, his two older brothers. And his father was also, I'm assuming, missing, presumably killed. So his mother and he...
No, his father and his mother went to Athens and then
right.
Egypt.
So basically, the two older brothers are taken away.
Yes.
So he, Diran, with his family, through Athens, get to Alexandria in Egypt. And soon after, I believe his mother passes away from the sorrow of having lost her sons. So from a very young age, Diran has to live to survive.
Yes.
And he starts working with his future father-in-law's company or industry or however it is. And so he works there, he meets his future wife, Azad, who's your grandmother.
Yes.
Azad's family actually also came to Alexandria, but from Gallipoli. They fled Gallipoli and reached they made their way to Alexandria. So Azad and Diran get married, they raise their kids. Malvina is your mother, is one of the daughters. So I'm telling this story because obviously these are part of your roots.
Yes.
And you recall your grandparents, I'm talking about Diran and Azad at this point, who never really necessarily spoke about the survival or the tough times, even though Azad came from a well-off family in Gallipoli, never really painted that everything was horrible. They gave you the sense that there's a future and there's an expansion of a development, and they really supported you, especially your grandmother, in doing what you want to do in life.
Yeah.
I won't go too much into the details of your father Paul's parents, but Artin or Harutyun, who was from Urfa, and your grandmother Luisa, who's from Istanbul. Again, very little story about how they made it out or how their families fled, but you have this history. Tell me, what sense have you made knowing what you know so far? What sense have you made about your own family history? How do you think it has shaped you in being who you are today, and your behaviors, your decisions, and even your life journeys?
I think from my mother's side, my grandfather and my grandmother gave me the best examples of hardworking, being sincere, caring for others, the positive aspects of life, family, and they have been my role models. On the other side, I always believed that the fact that my grandfather, the Urfati, was very rough with me also helped me shape my character. And I am grateful for that, because he was the one who always thought that women do not have any place in society, that they are only mothers, that should not even dare to do something. And I'm grateful to him that he helped me shape my strong character. Because with only Azad and Diran, I think I would have been the very sweet and hardworking person, while from Artin's side, I learned to be tough and fight back. And I always have fond memories of him and thanking him that he did that to me, and I was able to get that sense of fighting back in a good way. I think that deep down, he was my grandfather and he liked me. And that, of course, the Urfa culture and all those stigmas and everything that he was raised in made him that person. But deep down, he was a sweet human being. And from Luisa's part, because she had a very tough history of marrying someone who she did not want.
Who was conservative.
Yes, conservative. Her sisters were able to go to Marseille and become dentists and doctors, and she never got that chance. And she, until the end, she wanted to have that freedom. She also shaped me, because she was the one who was not giving up until the end. And having these two grandparents, both sides, was ideal for me. On one side is the hardworking, loving, sweet, caring, and the other side not accepting the faith that they had until the end. I think they helped me shape my character a lot, and I'm grateful to all of them.
Knowing the extensive experience that you've had in management and leadership, while you're talking, I'm thinking about your journey. You started off even as a construction management, team member of this important company in New York, with huge projects like the Marriott building in New York. And I mean, culturally, it's always been stigmatized that construction and engineering were all male professions. Yet you perseverantly with determination and maybe a bit more having a lot of daring values in you, you were able to really, penetrate this area that's generally known or considered, at least at that time, to be mostly a male-dominated profession. So with all of that in mind, you were mentioning your hardworkingness. You also have held these leadership positions. Tell me a little bit about the lessons you've learned of being a leader, and what principles do you follow?
I always tell my staff that, it's not like you become a leader or everybody prepares everything for you. You have to go through a path, and you have to build your character, and there are a lot of opportunities for every one of us, all of us, in life. It's a matter of you realizing, considering, and even not planning, but just jumping and taking those opportunities. I always realize that I do things, and when I get to do them, I question myself. Sometimes I'm afraid. Sometimes I question if this was the right decision to do something like that. But I learned that without going through these experiences, you don't shape your character and you don't become stronger and stronger. And so knowing that there are a lot of risks, you just have to do them and take them. And with Pegor and myself, we did the same thing with our kids, always pushing them, even knowing that we're taking a big risk, not to be so protective, because otherwise they will, one day, if something happens, they will not be able to protect themselves, and we will not be there. So by putting them in situations where they have to learn to protect themselves, and having us as a support system is the best thing. And if I can, resume what I have done, is always do things even if you're afraid. And that's my philosophy at TUMO. It's creating projects where you push everyone to their full potential, and try and not to be afraid, even if they're afraid. We know, I'm afraid too. We're all afraid of the unknown, but that should not stop us.
I think I'm actually very proud to say that I think a couple of years ago, you were honored with the title of Chevalier Knight, the Order of Palme Académique bestowed by the French Republic. And that's an order and a title that's given to distinguished academics, cultural figures for their contribution in science and education. So for me, seeing you receive this also gave me a major sense of pride. And knowing your story of being the only girl in your family of 4 brothers, surrounded by male cousins, having been raised in a culture that is, generally not openly encouraging women to reach their full potential. If Sanahin were here today, your daughter, or if there are young women here, what advice would you give them, apart from working hard and not being afraid?
To dream. Dreaming is very important. To have, and to dream always bigger and bigger. Once you achieve something, never be satisfied. To continue to make that dream bigger. Because by dreaming, you open your horizon and you allow even other people to join you. And this, Pegor and I dreamt about this. We wanted this, but we never imagined that we can make it this big. And now that it is bigger, it's again continuing to dream what you can do with all this to make things even better and to have a bigger impact. Sometimes I think about the medal people tell me, why you don't wear the medal? I don't want to wear the medal. I want to be up to the level of the medal, always, with what I'm doing. And to be able to say that I was getting close to that level, not even that level. So dreaming is very important. Dreaming gives you a lot of energy, hope, positive vision. And I think dreaming brings you people. With this initiative of expanding TUMO, people would not believe us, but we didn't go and search for the people who are supporting us. They came to us. Was that wrong? I don't know.
Was that luck?
Was that luck? I don't know. I don't think it's luck. You open your path. You allow other people to join you, and that's probably leadership. Your dream becomes their dream, and it's that gives strength to everything and hope.
So, what does it mean for you to be an Armenian, and what does Armenia represent for you?
A lot. I don't know why. I think, of course, my background and everything helped, but I think every person on this planet needs to have an identity, and identity is very important. Who you are, why you are here, what you're doing, and you cannot choose your identity. It's not like, okay, now I'm in Barcelona, I can become Spanish or Catalan. I cannot, even if I want. Deep down, there is a DNA, there is something that you're attached to it and that has been there in the background, and by embracing that identity, you feel more comfortable. You know, a lot of people, even when I get it in a taxi, why are you here? You can go, you can leave this country. I believe the US or Barcelona was much nicer. It is nicer. One day, my housekeeper asked me, you have traveled so much. Is it real that Armenia is very nice? How can you compare it? And I told her, no, it's not nice. We of course, draw this very nice picture of Armenia, and I have seen much nicer places, much nicer places. But this is mine. It's like your baby. It's your baby, and your baby is the nicest person on earth. Even if you know that
it has its flaws or has its issues,
and
it's your child.
It's your child, and Armenia is my child. Being Armenian is what I am, and I love it. And I always say I'm jealous of myself.
That's a nice way to put it. I never heard that. One thing I'm going to ask you, tell me how it resonates with you. It's a quote by Maya Angelou. She says, I come as one, but I stand as 10,000. I come as one and I stand as 10,000. How does that resonate for you?
Very much. I always say I have 5 kids, but in reality I have 20,000 kids at TUMO. Those are my kids, and I will have 80,000. And I want each one of them to succeed like my own kids. And I will do anything, everything in my power. Never, sometimes I say there is not enough time to do things. I wish there is more time. And I will do until my last breath, I will do everything to make sure that every one of them succeed. The other day I was on these bleachers and one girl was there spending a lot of time not studying. And I was angry at her, and I got a little bit angry at myself that I didn't talk to her the way I should have talked. But I was angry that she's losing her time, spending time where she can learn more. And then I retreated and I said, that's not the way. It's not by getting angry that you will change something. It's by opening opportunities to her, showing her things that you will get her to do things more than she thinks it's enough. So we have at TUMO, all of us, we have to do everything possible and impossible to open the path to this new generation to succeed. And that's my mission.
Marilou Papazian, thank you so much for being a source of inspiration for so many of us. And I wish you and TUMO endless success. I'm looking forward to seeing the projects that you'll be implementing in the coming years. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thanks.